Everyone, it's hot up the front of the fleet right now. It's day 205, I think it is, and 29th of March. And yeah, there's a lot going on all over the place, but very slowly. And Simon crossed the equator last night, which is kind of cool. And this is the temperature gradient, and it's all saying like 33s, 32, 33. So it's very hot. And just briefly, it looks like Simon's a couple of hundred miles behind Kirsten. And Ablish looks as if he's sort of on a par, but you've got to remember the rum line, and we'll explain that in a minute. Ablish is actually about 400 miles behind Kirsten at the moment. So some interesting stuff going on there, and we'll get into that. In fact, I'll get into it right now because then I'll... okay, so we'll come off of this and we'll go for wind, and I'm going to go down a scale, and we'll come back to the leaders in a minute. And we'll talk about that a bit more. So back here, we've got Ian sitting at anchor still. He must be just about ready to leave. He's still not left yet. That's his, it's 4 o'clock position. We're probably a little bit early in May. It's still dark there, so he won't have left in the dark, but he's suggested he's leaving today. So we'll look forward to seeing him out on the road. And the weather, you can see, pretty benign at the moment. The ocean race boats have all been screaming around, so there was none of our boats there for him to run into, touch wood. And it was fun to watch. So quite amazing. They're going around so fast. They'll take a few months to go around the world, and we've taken like 8 months. There's a lot of contrast there, but it's great to see. So we wish them well. So yeah, not a lot to talk about there for Ian. If we just quickly go that through, he's got a southwesterly coming in the next day. It's going to pick up a bit, so quite easy for him to get out of town, so to speak, get underway, and then he's going to get a good push. So that's day 1. This is coming up to day 2 on the 31st. Again, he's got a westerly, so that's going to be easy, and no real storms. April the 1st, and northwesterly, something like that. But anyway, he's nothing to worry about there. And if we then come down to Jeremy, he's happy and relaxing, and not exactly going very fast. 2.3 knots. He was hardly moving in the previous 4 hours as well. So the last 8 hours, he hasn't gone very far, but he's still managed 105 nautical miles in the last 24 hours because of that big wind he had. This system's now dying out, and he's going to have some challenges there by the look of it, because he's got this effectively this high that he's on the bottom of now. And that's never a good thing, because if that high goes to the east, which it usually does, something like this, he's going to get a northerly component. But he's down the bottom of that, so it'll go northwest. You can see there it's already turned northwest, so that's kind of nice. He'll be heading out in a northeasterly direction when that happens, which is pretty much where he wants to go. So there we go through to that's 24 hours ahead, so he's got nice sailing when it fills in. So he'll be underway. He'll make another 100-mile day, 120-mile day. And then the next day, coming through on the 31st, it's got a bit of a mixed bag. So that'll be frustrations with winds moving all around the place. So another 100-mile day or something like that. So, but anyway, he's well and truly out of the storm element now. He's coming up to get out of the horse latitudes as well. There's the 30th parallel of latitude up here, and let's hope all the big winds are behind him. So that's pretty cool for Jeremy. And then Captain Goog, as we thought, he's made it into the trades. He'll be very happy, although, yeah, it's an easterly, so he should slowly start coming around with that, and it's going to go southeast as he climbs up higher. So this will be pretty easy to show what's going on here. I'll just drop it back a bit. Yeah, so he's got an easterly flow there, and as he goes higher, it'll become a bit southeasterly, which will keep him away from the coast. He's a fair way out now, so that's pretty reasonable. Yeah, 5.5 knots and 96 nautical miles in the day. So that's pretty good for that part of the world. And now that he's into it, it'll get a lot easier. He can sit back and relax a bit. So I'll push it along from here. This is about midnight. Yeah, trade winds. Not a lot to see with this. There's 24 hours trade winds. We keep going. That's the next night. It's going lighter, which is interesting. Not a lot of strength in it. and more trade winds, more trade winds, more trade winds. So life can be boring, but compared to the Southern Ocean, that's exactly what he wants, and he'll be making good time. And the sea state down there now is sort of 1.5 meters, very benign. There's a bit of confusion here because he's just reached it. If you actually look at this on a PC, you'll see the fine movement here. It's showing what's happening with secondary swells, and it gets a bit confusing. He's just left a confusing sea, and then it gets reasonably organised. So it'll have a good comfort factor there, and the temperature will start to get warmer and warmer as he climbs north. Now, this is something I want to show you here before we go into it, and this is to put it into perspective exactly where they're going and what's happening, because they're all just about across the doldrums now, and they'll all start to get different types of weather, but you've got to look at where they're going and what they're doing. The first thing is, this is a clear definition. This is the, okay, here's Les Sables d'Olonne, right up the top there. It's only a little, but you all know where that is. And Spain and Portugal, and then down through the Canaries. That's where they went last time. Okay, so right now, there they are there. They've just crossed the equator, so Simon's gone across. Aberlich will go across today sometime probably. This is going to be their next objective, whether they like it or not. Because what happens is you've got these northeasterly trades coming in here. They're not very strong at the moment, but they'll start to increase. These trades are driven by the systems that are here. This is a bit of a mess right now. That's why it's not a solid green gradient here, not a solid trade wind. But that can change. In the next week or so, we might see one big system here, and it is already a big system. That's a big I get upside down and back to front here. Okay, so that's going around. So that's a big high pressure system, but it's blowing. That's a big high because the directions changed on the other hemisphere. So now the high pressure systems are no, that's a low. What am I talking about? Cheapest. Now I'm getting confused. So down here, you can see the high pressure systems. South Atlantic high is going counterclockwise. Okay, and so the high pressure systems up here go clockwise. Okay, the opposite. So this is actually a low pressure system. All right, and that's that'll be the driver. The systems up there will be the driver of the trade winds. So when they get into this northeasterly airflow, they'll be on starboard tack, and they'll be going as close to the wind as they think is comfortable, because there's a balance. If you go too close, you slow down. The waves will be all coming from the northeast as well, and the waves stop you, they smash around. So they keep easing off until there's a good balance between forward progress to your vector made good, because you want to go north. And you'll hear them talking about, oh, this is getting boring, this is hard work, they're smashing into the waves. Little ones, they'll be 2 meters or something, 1 to 2 meters. And there's water all over the boat, and the boat's heeled over, and it's bouncing everywhere. It's really uncomfortable. It's not something to look forward to. But they'll do the best they can, and they'll hold as high as they can into this breeze. And eventually, they'll end up in an area. Most end up coming at this point, cut through the islands here. And when they get there, the next objective is to get to Les Sables d'Olonne. And it's not at this time of the year it's going to be in late April. It's not usually easy to go straight to it. You can see here, this is a great breeze. If they were there now, you'd just be rocketing across. Okay, but usually there'll be a system sitting here, and it'll be rotating in a clockwise direction. And on the coast here, there'll be a northeasterly again, or there'll be a northerly, and it's punching. So they usually have to cut through the islands and then work around that system, come across, and then into Les Sables d'Olonne in that sort of direction. But anyway, for now, where they're really heading to, it's not even this run line. Sometimes, if they had good weather, there is an inshore course here. They can cut across and maybe get on the inside. If there's a system like this where you've got a southwesterly, you might take the chance and get through, but you've got to be very careful, because it can turn against you really quickly, and you get a northeasterly and you're buggered. So anyway, what that leads to is that even this run line here straightens up to the north. And so you got to draw a line about like this, and that's where they line up, and you'll see that reflected in the leaderboard. Hang on, we'll start off with all boats. So on the leaderboard, Kirsten now has 2,888 nautical miles to the finish, and Aberlich is about is 400 miles behind her. So, so yeah, Kirsten's still in a pretty good position. Plus, remembering now she's out to windward. So she can afford to cut across like that, easing off for the breeze a little bit. Okay. And then Abelish has got to try and hold higher, which is slower. But then again, his boat might be a little bit faster. So they might level out. And anyway, then when you look at the numbers, if he's 400 miles behind, with about a month to go, Abelish has got to be at least 10 or 12 miles a day faster. So that's half a knot. So he's always got to be half a knot faster, which isn't, unreasonable to expect. So it's going to really be very close. As for Howdens and Simon, that's a whole new sort of scenario again. He's got a lighter boat, but he's right in between the both of them. So it's going to be interesting to watch, even though he's in Chichester class. There's a strong possibility that he might sneak ahead of both of them and be the first boat back to La Sable d'Olonne, which would be a bit of fun. And it's good to see, having, when you do have to stop for, how do I put this? When you have to stop for a day or 5 days and go into Chichester class, okay, there's nothing wrong with Chichester class. And there was this perception before that, there's no use carrying on, blah, blah, blah. But you can still have a lot of fun in the event. And, Simon being first boat home, he's not in the rankings and all that sort of stuff. So he doesn't get any trophies for being first home. And it's not really line honours, because line honours is reserved to the those that are racing per se, still in the running, which is only Kirsten and Abelish and Captain Goog. But nonetheless, it's still a lot of fun, and you achieve what you set out to do. So that's kind of cool. And this whole thing now about percentages, it's a really interesting way to line up. Kirsten 400 miles in front, Simon's cutting through the middle, Abelish down the side. It's sort of really a case of watch this space. Anyway, I'll get back to this, and we'll see what's going on here, because I'll go through their performance now and the bits and pieces. I'll push them up here. Get them up here, and you can see it's a bit of a mishmash still, hard to predict and forecast, but it's pretty clear to me that these trades up here, whatever they are, and they're certainly not strong, they're just about through it. So you could say they're just about through the doldrums by the look of this, but they may open up when we scale it forward. So Kirsten's 1.7 knots did 45 miles in the last 24 hours, not a lot. Simon on Howdens did 63 nautical miles in the last 24 hours, doing 4.2, so he took a little bit out of Kirsten. And Bayonet Abelish sitting on 1.2 knots. Can't read the bottom here. 1.2 knots, and he did 30 miles in the day, so he hasn't done very well at all. But he might, that could all change. So let's get the sequencing in here. Let's just start clicking through the weather, and hopefully we'll see the doldrums sit back there. Abelish and Simon look like they're in a good position, and Simon looks like he's in a better position than Abelish. The breeze sort of reached him a little bit quicker than it reaches Abelish, and Kirsten sitting there. It's kind of sad. So this is what we were thinking yesterday, that Simon is probably going to get a squeak on Kirsten and pull ahead. And whilst Abelish is getting some breeze there, it's not so bad. It is a northeasterly, so he should be able to peel off in this direction, not exactly as high as you'd like, but at least he'll be moving. And Kirsten's not looking good at all. So this is in the first 24 hours. First 24 hours, Kirsten's lucked out completely. You can see there's solid green there. So they'll Abelish and Simon will probably do about a 70-mile day. He'll get 70 miles there. That's 100. So yeah, that's about how far Abelish is going to go. He's going to be out on this sort of direction out there, but he'll definitely be in the breeze, and Simon will be about the same, and Kirsten will be, anyway, who knows what. So that's the first day. Next day, if this forecasting is correct, Kirsten's on the edge. She's really sitting the hole. Simon's going a little bit light, and Abelish has got plenty of breeze, but it's, and then, yeah, Simon's lucking out. So Abelish is looking okay. And that's the second day, so in 2 days. And then you look at whatever Kirsten's done, she's still not got a lot to work with. And Simon's got a little bit to work with to slow down. So Abelish will start to gain a bit. That's 2 days out. That's really about as far as you can have with any accuracy. But I'm just doing this for fun now. to see what it's generally looking like. It's a very soft trade wind. There we go through. That's the third day. And if we come back to look at what it is, yeah, it's really weak. And it's the weakest where Kirsten is for sure. Simon in the middle in Howdens and Bayonet, looking okay, but not in the right direction. So that's really about it. So we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. It's Lutz's last day today. Whoa. So thanks, Lutz. If and when you get across the other side, we may give you a job back. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, Lutz is good. And we'll look forward to following your progress in the GGR in 2026. Ooh, jeepers, we'll see what happens. So see you all tomorrow. Thanks for that.